Welcome to Madison City Channel's Know Your Candidates interviews, co-sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Dane County. I'm your interviewer, Maria Spinozzi, and I would like to introduce Kristin Johnson, running for Alder from District 10. As we begin, please tell our viewers a bit about how your educational, vocational, and civic experience has prepared you for the position and why you decided to run for Alder.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today. I appreciate the time, and thank you to the League of Women Voters. I am running for Alder because I've lived in Madison now since 1990. I moved here to go to college, ended up staying here, raising a family, and starting a business in Madison, which I've run for the last 10 years, helping job seekers to find better opportunities and better paying jobs. And so as part of the community for the last almost 30 years, I decided that it was time for me to be able to get back to the community that's been so good to me and to my kids.
Madison's efforts to address chronic homelessness have appeared to fall short, especially with regard to providing sufficient support systems for a housing-first approach. What ideas do you have that might create greater success for projects such as the one on Tree Lane?
Thank you for asking that question. It's a really important one because Madison has an opportunity right now to get affordable housing right. We have a lot of people in my district are concerned about how we implement affordable housing, but yet most people tell me that they really want to be able to have good housing in the area for people who are lower on the income scale, but also to continue to have houses that we can stay in so that when my children, maybe someday after they're done with college and want to come back to Madison, they can afford to rent here and they can afford to buy a home here and raise a family like I have. So there's a real need for housing of all kinds, market rate housing, affordable housing, low-income housing. And Madison has a lot of expertise here. I'm familiar with the Community Action Coalition through some of the work I've done with job seekers, and I feel that there's a real need to partner employment with housing so that people can be able to afford better housing and so that we can begin to deal with the racial disparities in our city as well.
The Madison Police Department has been faulted for not having appropriate policies and training around de-escalation and use of force, especially with regard to people of color. What is your perspective on whether any changes are needed in ways Madison police operate in our community?
I'm running for Alder so that we can have a safer Madison and a more accessible Madison. And I think that when we look at the police, we have to balance what the police needs are to help with battling crime and helping us to stay safe in our neighborhoods. But we also need to look at how the people in the district perceive the police and how they feel about their presence, the police's presence in our neighborhoods. So I think there's a real balancing act in making sure the police have the funding they need to do the important detective work. In our district, we have the West Central Police Station now, and that's something that I think has reassured a lot of neighbors that the response times are increasing in our neighborhood. So people, although safety is truly an issue, we also have the need to support the people in our area who maybe need more opportunity so that they're not getting into trouble, and balancing that opportunity with the police is something that I will definitely work toward.
There is a perception that Madison's story is a tale of two cities, one in which people of color are less likely to experience success. What can be done to ensure that Madison is a community in which all people can thrive?
That's an important issue, and I've personally experienced that. I'm very lucky to have a lot of support in my family and to have the privilege to be able to succeed in my life despite some of the difficulties that I've been through. But I'm keenly aware that not everyone in our district has the same privilege and has the same support. So when we look at issues like affordable housing and policing, we have to make sure that it's partnered with organizations that can support and help people through their times of crisis, like I was so lucky to experience. So that is something that I hold very near and dear, and I find that the more people I talk to in the community, the more neighbors that talk to me about the racial injustice that's occurring in our city right now are very much wanting to see that begin to heal.
What issue have you identified as being of primary concern to the residents of your district, and how would you approach tackling it?
Accessibility is a huge issue for my district, not only through important programs like implementing BRT so that we can have bus rapid transit and good transportation, not just between our primary residential areas, but also in the outlying areas where sometimes people of color end up spending 40% longer on the bus to get to their work or to get to their home. And I believe that transportation is a huge issue for bringing racial equity to Madison. Also, accessibility on our streets, making sure our streets are clean, making sure that the streets department has adequate funding and has adequate equipment to be able to, and technologically advanced equipment, I think is important so that we can deal with some of the things that are keeping our streets impassable in the wintertime especially. So accessibility, transportation, housing, sustainability as well. The flooding is a huge issue for people in my district. Basements flooding, areas that are low-lying. We do need to have a more proactive approach to help residents deal with flooding in Madison.
The relationship between the council and the mayor appears at times contentious. Is this a problem? And if so, how would you improve the relationship?
I think listening is really important. For me, I know that when I work with clients on their job development, I can't go and tell them what job to get or what to do because they're really the experts in their own lives, and they come to me with a knowledge of their situation that I can't fully grasp until we get to talking and I actually listen to what's going on with them. So as Alder, I would do I would really work to listen to my constituents and be accessible to them so that I know exactly what the important issues are to bring to the council for them, and then to do a good job of listening to my council members as well, and the mayor, whoever the mayor ends up being. I am confident that I would be able to do a good job collaborating with them.
What changes, if any, should be made in how the city approaches major projects such as Judge Doyle Square and the public market? Those projects are important. Projects to stimulate economic growth in Madison are incredibly important, and especially in my district where we have an opportunity to improve the Verona Road, Midvale, Allied Drive corridors to be more thriving areas. We have a lot of opportunity with the TIF district and with the jobs TIF that has been mentioned as well. I'm excited about being able to be involved with creating economic growth and also creating more opportunity through jobs in that area. And I think that as Alder, it's important to remember what the people in the community really want, and that's what I'll be focusing on. What council committees do you want to serve on and why?
I would love to be involved with economic development and also employment are two big areas that I think I can contribute my expertise. Running a small business and working with job seekers for the last 10 years, I think those are two areas that would be, that I could contribute to. What would you like to say to the viewing audience as we complete this interview? I would be so honored to represent the people of District 12 as someone who's lived here for 30 years almost and raised 2 kids in the area and has been active in a lot of different ways through the community. I was able to serve for a year on the Midvale Lincoln PTO when my kids were little. I've done workshops with different organizations around town to be able to help with job placement, and I believe that those are 2 areas that show that I'm really committed to this community and to bringing Madison to a place where we can all thrive.
I want to thank Kristin Johnson for speaking with us and the viewing audience for taking the time to know your candidates. Please vote in this and every election. On behalf of Madison City Channel and the League of Women Voters of Dane County, I thank you for joining us.